is interrupted or reduced. So it prevents the brain tissue from getting oxygen and nutrients. There are two kinds of strokes. There is a hemorrhagic stroke and there is a ischemic stroke. Very different in the way they present, not always so different in the way they act, but generally a hemorrhagic stroke is much more serious and much less common. So that is a stroke where there is already a blood vessel in the brain that is bleeding for a reason, whether it be an aneurysm or something else, but it is a blood vessel in the brain that already is bleeding or bleeds without a clot coming from somewhere else. So that's the main thing. Ischemic stroke happens when a clot is somewhere else in the body, legs, arms, abdomen, heart, and it goes up to the brain. And that is an ischemic stroke. So it creates a clot in the artery, one of the main arteries in the brain, and it prevents blood from flowing through, thus decreasing your oxygen to the brain and therefore starting to impede on function, right? Muscle, nerve, etc. So this is the kind of stroke we're going to talk about, and it is the most common kind of stroke. Okay. Just to clarify, people get a little confused sometimes about strokes and heart attacks. They're very different. The only thing that's the same is they happen in arteries. Arteries in the brain are where a stroke is involved. Arteries in the heart are where a heart attack is involved. Okay. So even though an artery in the heart might be responsible for launching that clot up to the brain, the place in your body where the actual damage is done is heart is in the heart and stroke is in the brain. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on. So the American Academy of Strokes, or American Academy of Stroke Association, came up with this algorithm that is fantastic because it identifies the symptoms that are most commonly seen in a stroke, as well as just the word fast, which is something that I've said from the beginning. We want to work very quickly upon diagnosing or beginning to think that you're seeing someone with a stroke. Our little friend in Columbus, Ohio, is having some internet connection. So Mary, we're going to hang on for 1 second and wait for him to come back. Okay.
Okie doke.
Where are you from, Mary?
New Jersey.
Really? What part?
Vincenttown, Medford, Voorhees. Do you know where that is? That's close to Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty far west. Is that right?
It's closer to Philly. Like you come over to the Betsy Ross Bridge and you get Cinnaminson, Delran, and we're closer to the shore. Actually, I'm in the Pinelands.
Okay. Wow. How's
like
the weather there?
It's cold.
It's cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was telling Fred that we are, I'm in Colorado.
Wow.
It's beautiful here. It's a little cold, but it's absolutely beautiful. So,
wow, that's great. You know what? I've had 5 heart attacks. And I've lost every stent they put in collapsed, so I only have half a heart now. And every time I know when I'm having them. They're like, and I still smoke. I can't stop smoking, but it's like I know what they can just come on, but I know for me, you know what's going to happen, but it always you always have that weakness in your arm or going up my neck and stuff. So you know, how do you know it's not a stroke?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Generally, they don't look so much alike when you're the feeling, although, so with a stroke, you generally don't feel the weakness in your arm. The heart attack,
okay.
You feel, I know you feel like it feels like something squeezing your heart.
I can't move. I can't move.
Right. It's like you've got a wrench or something like a wench on your chest, right?
Yeah, and then yeah, I have no feeling. I lose no feeling in my arm, and then it goes up my neck, and I have to throw up, and I can't talk.
Oh, but you've been
Yeah.
able to get to the emergency room and get help right away.
No, no, never. The third one I had, no, the third one I had, I was up in the mountains.
Yeah.
It took them 3 hours. They took me to one hospital, they couldn't do nothing, and they had to take me over the mountain to another hospital.
You're kidding, but you've
I'm not lying.
you've made it through all of these though.
That's what the priest says. Maybe I'm destined to. But everyone in my family died with
Oh,
heart. I just lost my last brother, and I'm the oldest. Everybody figured I'd be the one to go.
oh my
So-
gosh. How many brothers and sisters?
I had 3 brothers, and they all died. My dad died, and my mom died.
I'm sorry. Well, do you have kids?
Yeah, and he had 2 heart attacks too. He's in his sport. It's just something in our heart,
Yeah,
relatives.
it does tend to run, heart attacks and heart disease does tend to run in families and be, yeah, it does tend to kind of do that. Poor Fred. Fred is in and out with us. Hello,
Oh.
Fred. Here he comes back again. We haven't covered anything except for the entire class while you were gone, Fred. Now we're just gonna, Mary and I've just, been talking away. Now we're gonna test you, Fred.
I'm glad you got the details out of the way.
We got the
And
details
I
out
got-
of the way, and now we're gonna just party. I'm gonna send the party over to you all now, okay?
Okie doke.
Okay, so I was talking
I
to,
may be able to pass the test because I had a stroke 10 years ago.
you did, okay, so this is very interesting. So I'm gonna go
Wow.
through this, and then you're gonna talk to me a little bit about your stroke and what was similar and or different or what went on. Mary's issue is that she has heart attacks. She has heart attacks frequently. And she doesn't always get help as soon as she would like to, but she has survived all of her heart attacks. And furthermore, she is the only one still living out of all of her brothers and her family, and they all have had very severe heart disease and lots of heart attacks. So we're not talking about heart attacks today, but so I'm just going to go through this. So why don't, before I do this, Fred, tell me about your stroke and what happened.
I worked as a consultant, so I was down in Cincinnati, about an hour and a half away by car.
Yep.
And apparently it happened as I was driving up from Cincinnati. So obviously the face drooping, the speech difficulty, I don't talk to myself while I drive, or I do, but it's mental, so I really didn't notice anything until I started to get off the freeway and realized I was going a lot faster than I thought I was. So the trip home was interesting. And then I was trying to write a note, couldn't control my arm to write the note. Started to call somebody to, find out what's going